In today's episode, a targeted attack on an ICE detention facility leaves one person dead. Secondly, Jimmy Kimmel fails to offer up an apology last night. And liberal women are rebuking the president by taking more Tylenol. In all these stories, we're going to show you what both sides are saying and then give you the bottom line.
Fox News alert, a deadly shooting at an ICE facility in Dallas this morning. The FBI confirming 2 people were shot and the gunman taking his life afterward. The FBI also confirming they found unused bullet casings engraved with the phrase anti-ICE into it. No ICE officers were harmed. FBI Director Kash Patel says these politically motivated attacks are not a one-off and the targeting of law enforcement officers has to end. Here's Texas Senator Ted Cruz, who spoke moments ago at the scene.
This needs to stop. Violence is wrong. Politically motivated violence is wrong. It was 2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of this country. This is the 3rd shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop.
Okay, so here we are again. We have more political violence. This time it's against another ICE detention facility. This is the 3rd time this has happened, by the way. And when you have the shell casings with the engravings of anti-ICE written on them or engraved on it, I think that tells you what's going on here. Now, according to Ground News, which you guys are going to find to be so fascinating, is only one side of the political spectrum in the media wants to talk about this development. That's why we use Ground News to see the full picture of what's being reported so we can think for ourselves. And let me just show you an example of what I'm talking about, okay? This is titled, FBI says ammunition at Dallas shooting scene containing anti-ICE messaging, all right? Now, when you scroll down here on Ground News, they'll show you the ratios. 53% of the outlets talking about this story lean right, and only 19% lean left. Now, what does that tell you?
Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis. We need to learn to work together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other. Violence has no place. It is wrong. And we should come together. If we want to have a debate about immigration policies, we can do so in the halls of Congress without demonizing each other, and especially without demonizing the men and women who every day put on a badge and go risk their lives to keep us safe.
Yeah, now here's the other thing about Ground News. When you want to do your own research, they make it super easy. Because first, they give you the bullet point or the summary of what's happening. And I think this is a key detail. 1 person is dead, 2 others are injured in a targeted attack at an Immigration and Customs Enforcement field office in Dallas, with the shooter deceased from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, officials confirmed. Then, when you scroll down, it'll show you articles, okay, based on political spectrum. And one of the articles that leans left from CBS News, it says Dallas ICE office targeted in deadly shooting faced bomb threat just last month. I mean, this is getting out of hand. And this is why I want you guys to do your own research, because there's a lot of information out there, a lot of propaganda. In fact, I put up a post on X the other day where it's like sometimes the conspiracy sounds more believable than the actual truth. That's why I encourage you to use Ground News, because they'll give you everything you need to be able to think for yourself and do your own research. So if you want to use this tool for yourself, all you have to do is go to ground.news/Devori, or you can download the mobile app. Just use promo code Devori, and it's going to give you access to everything that I showed you in this video, including 40% off the Vantage plan.
We're getting new updates by the minute, but I'll break it down for you what we know so far. So the shooter, police say, was at a building next to this ICE facility, started firing into an unmarked van, and we're told from officials that 3 detainees inside of that van were shot at. 1 of the detainees died, and then the gunman turned the gun on himself, and he was shot and killed as well.
Okay, so what's going to happen as a result of another tragic situation like this? Well, politically, you're going to have Democrats come out and act like they're stupid. They're going to say this is terrible. This shouldn't happen in our country. And then they'll start to suggest that we need to go after more gun control. Okay. It's the same playbook every single time. And what they're not going to do is acknowledge that this, yet again, is political violence that is coming from the rhetoric. When you're calling ICE agents Nazi and, they're going to, disappear you in the middle of the night. And, when you're telling people stuff like this, some of these people take it literally and think they need to pick up a weapon and do something about it. And then obviously, if you're a conservative and you do your own research and you're exercising critical thinking skills, then you know exactly what's going on here. But I don't think Chuck Schumer got that message. Take a listen.
Their violence is just terrible. Everybody, right, left, center, I don't care what your politics are, has to speak out strongly against it. But look, I think, and I don't know what's happened here, and I don't know about the guns, but we need better laws on guns. I mean, we got something done a few years ago, but it's just rampant. And we have to do more.
Schools,
I'm the author of the Brady Law, the assault weapons ban. It's become almost every day one of these things happen. And we can't just sit there and do nothing.
Okay, just like I told you. It's about gun control for them. They think that is the only solution, not their political language and rhetoric. But let's go back down through memory lane and give you guys what's been happening here as a recurring pattern, because I guarantee someone in your life is going to be like, no, that's not happening. Show them this post from Benny Johnson. In the past few weeks, Charlie Kirk was assassinated by leftists. ICE facilities in Dallas and Fort Worth shot up. ABC station in Sacramento shot up by a DNC megadonor. Bomb planted on a Fox News vehicle and a bomb threat at RFK Jr.'s home. Thousands of leftists celebrated Charlie Kirk's assassination. We know that people even went to the Charlie Kirk Memorial, vandalized it, and destroyed it. And that was just in Arizona. Many other places in the country, they did this. And of course, students at Texas Tech and Texas State, you guys saw those viral videos that were threatening people who supported Charlie Kirk, and we could just go on and on. Let's not even mention Mr. Luigi, right? The guy who assassinated the United Healthcare CEO. You throw that in there as well. And then the whole Tesla situation, throw that in there. But they still say that people on the left, no political violence. It's only coming from the right. I'm going to prove it to you here. Listen to what this guy just said on MSDNC. He's basically blaming this event on right-wing extremism. Take a listen.
The writing, the first time we really saw that was Brenton Tarrant in the Christchurch shooting in a mosque in New Zealand. And he was a fierce, white supremacist and neo-Nazi, and wrote all over his weapon and his rounds, very hateful information. So to see this coming from, potentially the other side of the political spectrum is a little strange, because it is not something, if you are trying to, carry out some kind of message countering, more extreme right-wing stuff, I don't know why you would, use a tactic that a famous white supremacist who has been revered and copycatted over the years by other white supremacists, why you would do that. But it does appear that people are moving in that direction because they want people to know what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Okay, so according to Christopher O'Leary, who's a former FBI senior official, I don't even know what his position was in the FBI, but I digress. I say this. He believes that this is due to white supremacy and right-wing extremism. Okay? I don't understand why it's so hard for them to just say, hey, listen, we have people in this country who literally think it's okay to attack ICE detention facilities, and we need to get to the bottom of it. Someone is encouraging them to do this. Okay? Someone is. And that someone, it ain't hard to figure out who those people are. It's the Democrat Party in the way that they have been describing ICE agents. I'm telling you, this is a mindset issue, a propaganda issue, an information issue. It's all being weaponized to inflame the base to the point where they literally take those words and start doing things like this. And it's just evil, in my opinion. Now, the Vice President, J.D. Vance, he's livid at this. In fact, here he is in North Carolina just moments ago saying this about this entire situation. Take a look.
When Democratic politicians incur doxing, when they encourage us to unmask ICE enforcement officers, what do you think is going to happen? When the mayor of Los Angeles encourages violent protesters to get in the face of our law enforcement, what do you think is going to happen? What's going to happen is political violence, and political violence has gotten out of control in this country. We got to stop it. We got to condemn it. And that starts, unfortunately, at the very top of the Democratic Party. If you want to stop political violence, stop attacking our law enforcement as the Gestapo. If you want to stop political violence, stop telling your supporters that everybody who disagrees with you is a Nazi. If you want to stop political violence, look in the mirror. That's the way that we stop political violence in this country, and we've got to do it.
Listen, if you truly want to change what's happening in our country regarding political violence, you just have to change the way that you think about what's happening in our country, which leads to the way that you describe what's happening into our country, which obviously impacts the way that we respond to what's happening in our country. And you don't have to look any further than to pay attention to how both sides describe what's happening. One side uses language like fight, Nazi, Gestapo, communist, right? Authoritarian, Hitler. I mean, Armageddon, the world's going to end, our democracy is ending. I mean, these are words that to people who are not thinking for themselves, they believe they have to do something about it. And then if you look at how conservatives, people who truly think for themselves and exercise common sense, they don't talk about that like that about our country. There's plenty of scum to go around, by the way, and disgusting behavior and evilness in this world. But I'm not calling for anybody to go out there and do stuff like this. This is craziness. Now, here's what the Dallas mayor had to say, and I think this is the appropriate response. Take a listen.
There's a lot going on right now in our country. A lot of it's confusing. It's a scary time. I've got children. I've got 3 young children, and I'm here to tell you that it is challenging to explain to them what's going on in our country right now. But I said before, and I'll say it again, I believe in the power of prayer to change things. And it can change the hearts of people. It can change this country. It can change the city. So please pray for everyone who's affected by today's tragedy.
Now we go to our next story. This happened late last night with Jimmy Kimmel. He's back on air, and he did I don't know if you're going to call this apology. Let's call it an acknowledgement. Okay, he's acknowledging what he said was wrong in some sense. He didn't mean it the way it came out, but you never hear him actually say, I'm sorry, I apologize, I wish I would have done it differently, I'm sorry to the Charlie Kirk family, nothing of that nature. And I'll read it to you. I can't play it due to copyright reasons. Quote, I don't think what I have to say will make any difference if you like me or if you don't. It was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. It was never my intention to blame any specific group. I get why you're upset. If the situations were reversed, there's a good chance I would feel the same way. I get a lot of threats on my life too, and I know those types of threats don't come from the people on the right who I know and love as well. He also goes on to say that he has friends who are conservative and they don't ever are violent or anything like that. And so that's kind of how it went on for a while, by the way. Now, Andrew, who was the executive producer for Charlie Kirk, says this, not good enough, Jimmy. It's simple. Here's what you need to say. Quote, I'm sorry for saying the shooter was MAGA. He was not. He was of the left. I apologize to the Kirk family for lying. Please accept my sincere apology. I will do better. I was wrong. And one more good note before we go to this clip from CNN. He still ended up suggesting that this guy was not left-wing.
Television critics, First Amendment experts, they are raving about this monologue, which has already gained many millions of views on YouTube and other platforms. So the live broadcast, well, from a few hours after the taping, the live broadcast, and now overnight and into the morning, the on-demand viewership of this episode is quickly becoming a moment for American free speech rights, with so many people grateful to Kimmel for speaking out and also grateful to Disney for making sure he's back on the air. Of course, with every reaction, though, there's a counter reaction. We've already heard from some MAGA media influencers denouncing Kimmel this morning. It was notable that Jimmy Kimmel kept trying to make it about more than just his show. He, for example, talked about NBC's Jimmy Fallon, saying he hopes that his own fans will defend Fallon if Trump tries to come for NBC next. And Kimmel also talked about the state of American journalism, warning against recent threats against the press.
There's a couple of things that are troubling about what happened last night. Number one, Jimmy Kimmel did not apologize, as I said earlier, and as you guys just heard. The second troubling thing is the amount of views that it got. I mean, it just shows you the level of delusion surrounding this entire situation. There are people who woke up this morning truly believe that Jimmy Kimmel was canceled, and then all of a sudden ABC went back on that cancellation. What they don't understand is Jimmy Kimmel had a contract. He's not going anywhere. His show was suspended, not canceled. True difference there. Not silenced like Charlie Kirk was. But they don't want to acknowledge that. And point number 3 is what Piers Morgan posted earlier this morning. Look at this. You'll understand the real problem with America's late night comedy shows. They're all partisan political activists for the Democrats in a country where the majority of voters at the last election voted Republican. Look at this. The amount of conservatives that have been on late night TV shows come in at 14, and how many people that lean left or liberals or Democrats? 511.
The 6-month median, the median video only gets 240,000. Look how many views Tuesday night's monologue already has. 6.7 million. That's over 25 times as large as the median Jimmy Kimmel video normally gets. And I was looking, it is by far the largest video in at least 6 months. So if Donald Trump's idea was to give Jimmy Kimmel more press and more viewership, he absolutely did so. Of course, I don't think that is what Donald Trump intended to do.
Yeah, so you saw the number, 6.7 million. As I told you, that's troubling because it just shows you that there's people in this country, they're not in touch with reality, okay? They don't care about the facts. They just care about what they're told and how they feel, and that President Trump is to blame for everything that's happening in this country. It's just a lack of self-responsibility, of course. Now, speaking of someone who lacks that, Hillary Clinton was on Morning Joe this morning to talk about the FCC, to talk about Jimmy Kimmel, and of course, to talk about President Trump. And you already know how it goes. They say that the president is being authoritarian, and this is straight out of that playbook. Take a look.
I'm curious, though, what you think of the bigger picture of what's happening around free speech, whether it's the message we hear from Attorney General Pam Bondi or the head of the FCC, the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, about going after explicitly people they view as political enemies or opponents and silencing those voices. How dangerous do you view that moment to be?
I view it as very dangerous. It is right out of the authoritarian playbook, Willie. I mean, this is, this is point 4 of the authoritarian playbook. Silence your opponents. Cripple the media that doesn't give you the slavish attention and agreement that you desire. Use the power of the government to go after corporations and individuals. I thought, Jimmy Kimmel did an excellent job last night in, being very emotional, actually, about that moment for him and how he felt misunderstood. And he certainly didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But on the other hand, standing up for free speech. I've said a million times, I mean, good Lord, the things that have been said about me, the lies that have been propagated. If I had only known, I could call up the FCC chair and say, take this person off the air. Get that person out of my sight, off with his head.
Well, it just so happens that she did do something like that. In fact, I think she did something worse, which is what happened in Benghazi and how all military personnel and contractors had to sign an NDA over her incompetence, as you guys know. And so there's just that. And then, of course, the Hillary Clinton meme case where Douglas Mackey went to prison for mocking Hillary Clinton on social media by using memes during the election cycle. So I don't want to hear it from her. And you guys already know she has zero credibility, but I'm just showing you what both sides are saying. It's just unfortunate that she could smile like that in front of the camera and act as if Jimmy Kimmel is some victim here. He's not the victim. You know who is? Charlie Kirk, the guy who was actually silenced and assassinated for just having a conversation.
We have got to stop demonizing each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I think most of that right now in our country's history is coming, from the right, coming from people who want to dominate. They want their point of view. Writing out slavery from history, that doesn't make it go away. We have got to stop with the finger pointing and the scapegoating.
Well, she should take her own advice, and that's my advice for everybody, including myself. And that's why you guys know I'm not into the whole divisive game. I don't really like to waste a lot of time getting overly emotional and screaming. And, I just think that is all a waste of energy. My focus here is to show you both sides and encourage you to think for yourself and make up your own mind. And if you still disagree with me in the end, that's fine. At least You thought about it first. At least you were thinking for yourself and came up with your own conclusions. I respect that more than someone who's just eating up propaganda. Now, let's go to our next story because when you think about propaganda, this one is very troubling. We're talking about RFK Jr. and President Trump exposing Tylenol because they believe it is linked to autism, especially when the mother is taking Tylenol during pregnancy. So, of course, a lot of people have been pushing back. And now there's a lot of more new information that's always been out there, but now it's getting attention that supports this claim from the president. Take a listen.
RFK Jr. making waves with his MAHA agenda, his announcement finding an association between Tylenol and autism, gaining some praise while also facing heated backlash. Our Alexandria Hoff in Washington. And Alex, in the middle of all of this, there is some new attention, a lot of it being paid today, to some old social media posts by Tylenol.
Yeah, and before we show you those, John, remember that the FDA label change concerns any product that contains acetaminophen. Plenty of generics do, but it's the active ingredient in Tylenol, which the president named numerous times in this week's announcement. As HHS shared its belief in evidence that suggests acetaminophen use during pregnancy could be linked to autism.
Taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary.
And as I told you guys, new information is coming to light, getting more attention, like this old post from 2017. Now, they don't even maintain this account anymore. But this is from the company where they said, we actually don't recommend using any of our products while pregnant. Thank you for taking the time to voice your concerns today. Now, we don't actually know who they were responding to, but what we do know is they made that statement. So I find that to be interesting. So, of course, Fox reached out to the company that makes Tylenol, and they had nothing to say. Take a look.
Tylenol maker Kenvue has not responded to our request for a statement on that, but Tylenol's website has been updated to include a response page for those concerned with recent media coverage. On there, the company states, as our label says, if pregnant or breastfeeding, talk to your healthcare professional before use. Now, the White House has not shied away from this moment, reposting the 2017 sentiment with a picture of the president holding a hat that says Trump was right about everything. Now, keep in mind, most every medication or supplement advises pregnant women to talk to their doctors before use. Safety is rarely guaranteed simply because there's significant ethical issues in testing products on pregnant women.
Now, of course, liberal women are going to respond by taking more Tylenol. In fact, pregnant women who want to record themselves in a way to, I guess, stick it to the president by taking more Tylenol. I mean, it's just fascinating how people think this way. This lady here, this woman named Michelle Vu, who is a doctor out of New York. She does fertility medicine, I guess. Quote, 28 weeks pregnant, and you know what? I'm going to take some Tylenol, and my baby won't have autism. I mean, this is what she does, okay? And it goes on and on and on and on, and you have more videos of liberal women doing this, and, you know, they think this is funny. But I'll tell you what, I'm not too sure it is if it, in fact, ends up being true, and that for a long time now, the studies have not only been compromised, but in some ways suppressed. I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up happening, but results always tell the story. So now it's time to hear from you guys in the comments section. What do you make of this whole Tylenol situation, how liberal women are responding? What do you make of that type of behavior? Secondly, what is your take about what happened at an ICE detention facility in Dallas today, where one person was killed in another political targeted attack? And of course, we see how the left has responded. They don't believe it has anything to do with what they're saying. It's got to do with white supremacy and right-wing extremism. Let me know what you guys make of that statement. And then finally, Jimmy Kimmel and this whole entire situation, how he failed to even offer up an apology. What do you guys make of that? Just give me everything you got in the comment section below. Now, in our next video, Routh, the guy who tried to take President Trump out in an assassination attempt, was found guilty yesterday, but that's not even the story. He tried to kill himself after the verdict came down. Also, the president ghosted Democrats in a government shutdown meeting. Things are continuing to get heated. So if you miss out on those updates from yesterday, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.